It is strange how the people who understand the most often say the least. You might be in a room full of conversation, laughter, noise, and yet your mind is somewhere else entirely. Not because you are bored, but because you are seeing layers that no one else seems to notice. Patterns inside patterns, meanings behind words that were never spoken. And sometimes, that makes you feel less connected, not more. If this feels familiar, it does not mean something is wrong with you. It does not mean you are distant, arrogant, or socially disconnected. There is a psychological reason your mind works this way. And more importantly, it reveals something deeper about how you process the world. Because having an extremely high IQ is not just about being smart. It changes how you think, how you feel, and how you relate to reality itself. Psychology suggests that people with very high cognitive ability experience the world with a kind of mental intensity others do not. Their minds are constantly analyzing, predicting, questioning, connecting ideas at a rapid pace. Not just faster, but fundamentally different. And that difference shows up in ways you might not have words for. One of the first signs is that your mind rarely feels quiet. Even when nothing is happening outside, something is always happening inside. Thoughts moving quickly, jumping from one idea to another, connecting things that seem unrelated. A simple conversation can trigger a chain reaction of reflections, memories, interpretations. It is like living with a mental engine that does not have an off switch. And you might have noticed, sometimes your thoughts are louder than the world around you. But that is only the beginning. You tend to overanalyze even the smallest interactions. A single sentence can stay with you for hours, sometimes days. You replay it, examine the tone, the wording, the timing, wondering what they really meant, what they felt but did not say. This is not insecurity. It is your mind, trying to extract deeper meaning from limited information. But the paradox is, not everything has a clear answer. And so, you can get trapped in loops of thought, searching for clarity where clarity does not exist. You may also feel disconnected in social situations, even when you know how to talk, even when you understand humor, even when you engage. There is still a quiet sense that you are slightly out of sync. Conversations can feel predictable. Surface-level topics feel draining. You crave depth in places where depth is not expected, not because you think you are better, but because your mind seeks complexity naturally. And when it is missing, it can feel like you are speaking a language no one else is using. You are also highly sensitive to contradictions. When words do not match actions, when something feels off, you notice it instantly. You see through facades, pick up on subtle cues others miss. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And that creates a quiet tension between what is said and what is real. You question everything, including yourself. You analyze beliefs, break them down, test them against logic and experience. You can see multiple perspectives at once. But with that depth comes a distance from certainty. Simple answers no longer feel simple. And the more you understand, the harder it becomes to settle. You may struggle with decisions, not because you are indecisive, but because you see too many possibilities. Every choice branches into outcomes. Your mind runs simulations constantly. And sometimes, that creates a kind of mental gridlock. Because when you see every path, choosing one feels like losing the others. You might also feel like you do not fully belong. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, persistent sense. That you are slightly different. You can adapt, blend in. But internally, there is distance. Like you are living in two layers. The version of you that exists in the world, and the version of you that is constantly observing it. And that can feel isolating. Even when you are not alone, you are likely harder on yourself than others realize. Because you see your flaws clearly, your inconsistencies, your mistakes, your gaps, and instead of ignoring them, you focus on them. There is a quiet pressure to understand more, be better, figure things out, even when no one is asking you to. And that can create a feeling that you are never quite enough, even when you already are. Living with a mind like this is not easy. It can be exhausting to think this much, to feel this deeply, to analyze everything. But here is what most people never realize. This is not just a burden. It is also a rare kind of depth. You see what others miss. You understand patterns that are invisible to most. You can hold multiple perspectives at the same time. You are not just processing the world. You are interpreting it. And that is a quiet kind of power. Because insight is not loud. It does not demand attention, but it shapes everything. The deeper your mind goes, the quieter it often becomes. And maybe that is why you have always felt a little different. Not because you are disconnected from the world, but because you are experiencing more of it at once. So if you have ever felt like your mind works in a way that is hard to explain, you are probably right. And that is not a flaw. It is a different way of seeing. If this resonated with you, this channel explores the psychology behind the parts of yourself you have always felt, but never fully understood. Subscribe if you want to keep making sense of your inner world. And if someone came to mind while listening, share this with them. Because sometimes, understanding begins with realizing you were never the only one.